Welcome to the Bend Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source Weekly, Bend's locally owned newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you're taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Bend Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Switzer, publisher of The Source Weekly and your host for the Bend Don't Break podcast. Today, we have Clifford Evelyn?
Correct.
Redmond City Councilor.
How you doing?
Clifford. He was born and raised in New York City after graduating from George Washington High School and attended New York University for Business Administration and later attended LA Trade Tech College where he studied business management. In 1977, he enrolled in the U.S. Navy and attended the U.S. Naval Management School located in Algiers, LA. In 1989, he was hired by the Clark County Sheriff's Office in Vancouver, Washington, attended the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission Correctional Academy, was promoted up through the chain of command at the Sheriff's Office to the position of commander in 1998. In 2007, he was nominated and awarded the first ever Cultural Diversity Award from the Clark County Board of County Commissioners for encouraging and supporting through actions cultural diversity, inclusiveness within the county's working environment. Clifford, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Clifford, we should let listeners know, is a two-time podcast guest.
Two-time.
Yeah, we're circling back. I mean, I think when we last had you on the podcast, we were in the pandemic.
Yeah, we was deep in the
pandemic. We were deep in it.
That's right.
Yeah, and we was just getting going, and you were just a new city councilor.
Yeah, and I came in and I said, "Who's that masked man?"
So good to reconnect. How are things in Redmond?
Redmond is booming.
Yeah,
Redmond. I'm telling you. We're doing it. And I know when we met the first time, I told you that, I was going to get some things moving and make sure, homelessness was a problem. Like you said, the pandemic was out. That was a problem.
Redmond was, I don't think Redmond had the velocity back then that it does now. I mean, you're the second or the fastest growing city in the state.
We are.
Fastest growing. I don't think people like to think Bend's fast, but Redmond's faster now.
Well, Bend is full. But Redmond's fast, yeah, and that's the interesting thing is because a lot of people have moved here. I'm a out in the street person, so I kind of go around town and talk to everybody,
Yeah.
And in talking to everyone, it's amazing how many people from California have moved here.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Fresno, Sacramento, Oakland, So I think Redmond's in for a rude awakening. Well, they're already awake. If they're not, they need to get awake. There's a lot of people here, and they're very sophisticated in the voting process and, elected officials and things like that. So things have really changed. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, you can see the composition of the retail shops that are opening downtown in Redmond and the dynamic makeup. I mean, you drive to, it's not very difficult to drive to a place that used to be wide open farm country and see subdivisions now.
That's right. We got a lot of subdivisions. Actually, we got quite a few subdivisions.
Yeah.
We've built a lot of affordable housing, which is very important right now, as you know. And that's an ongoing process because of the fact that people say, well, when is that going to be over? Well, it's not going to be over because it took us a while to get here, and now it's going to take us a while to get out. So, but with affordable housing, we got a number of things. We got safe parking now. We got Oasis Village up and running. We got shelters. We got shelter in place, whereas people that just can't afford to pay rent could live in their RVs, and that's the safe parking program, And so, we're doing a lot of things. So we're taking care of the problems, and we're starting to solve them and resolve them, rather. And that's why we're getting so much recognition from the governor's office.
I mean, regionally, Redmond has been pretty dynamic in addressing your homeless population problem, and it's kind of cool because you're early in your development process, so you're addressing these things. You've got a better chance of growing. Whereas Bend is just bigger, and more people, larger problems. But how do you get that kind of momentum in something like homelessness?
Well, that's interesting because if you remember, if you do, back in 2020 when I was first put onto the board, or elected to the board, the council rather, I was under a different administration. You know, I had Endicott, you know, and that council, right? And there was a few councilors on there that was very adamant that homelessness wasn't our problem and we should just leave it alone. And I was very adamant to say, well, no, that's not going to happen because it's an issue that we have to resolve, because if we don't, we already know what the consequences are going to be just looking at other cities, you know. And I kept pushing that, you know. Finally, some of the people from that administration stepped down, and now new people are in, which I talked to a couple people about getting on the city council. I thought they were sharp and smart, and they were, and they are, and now they're on city council. So we got the ball rolling now, and we got a momentum. Yeah. You know, and now people are starting to move their businesses here into Redmond and things like that because they see a difference. Yeah. You know, with our little pitfalls of Confederate flags flying and all that nonsense, you know, that has burnt out. It's starting to burn out now, you know, and things are going away.
Well, you got quite a different, I mean, the demographic is changing pretty rapidly. I thought that there would be a lot, actually more culture clashes in the Redmond community than there are. And I know I don't see them all. I don't live in Redmond, but you know, there was the big Confederate flag stuff, the weirdness, and you still have your city councils are still getting, your meetings are being bombarded.
You know, and I don't, right? Yeah, I'm not trying to take credit, but like I'm the target, you understand? And I'm okay with
I do
that.
know you're a target.
Yeah, so sure. I'm the target for all that stuff. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with what they're saying, but if you notice, I don't respond a lot. Yeah. Because I've always learned growing up, and I'm an old guy now, I'm 73 years old, I'm smart enough to figure this one out. So what I say is, I'll let them tell on themselves. And one person that always says something every meeting that we've been to, she was at the last city council meeting and she brought the same stuff up again, right? But she looked very weak and dilapidated because hate just wears you out.
Oh yeah, it's exhausting.
You know? And the fact that I'm not responding is just making it worse, you know. And so it's working in our favor. Yeah. So,
well,
you know.
Listeners should understand that the city council meetings became such a, I mean, I want to say theater, for lack of better words. There's a lot of grandstanding, a lot of people making speeches, and that you move the public speaking portion to the end of the meeting in order so that you could get some business done.
Absolutely. And that was a smart move on the mayor's part. You know, that's a strategy, because there's different strategies to address people that want to disrupt meetings, you know. And we talked about it and we did it, and a lot of people was upset with it. But the fact of the matter is, well, you still got your free speech. It just comes at the end, you know. Yeah. But it's very funny how people do things, because when we did that, one individual who was a fire starter, a gaslighter, you know, he made the comment. He says, "Well, I don't think that's fair because you're making us go to the back of the bus." Oh, that was a dog whistle. You know, I mean, you know, like I caught that like right away. I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, he was basically saying, you know, you're treating us like black people. Yeah. You know, he didn't say it out loud, but see, you got to look at the subtle stuff, you know.
It's the civil rights movement.
Yeah, and I was part of the civil rights movement back in the days in the 60s in New York. So I'm like, okay, that was like not good. But he knows many people out here aren't tuned in like that. Right, sure. So they didn't look at it, they just looked at it like, okay. Yeah. But then if not wanting to, wait, if you're a person of color, you know what that means, you know. Right, absolutely. But it's okay. It's, you know, because you know what? We're going to get things done. Yeah. And we're getting things done. Yeah. And that's what bothers them even more, is because we're being successful and we as a council are working together. People need to understand that we don't make any kind of decision individually. We work together as a team. Yeah. And we don't get into a lot of arguments neither. We just sit there and we talk about it, think it out. Critical thinking skills fall into place. You know, next thing you know, we say, okay, we all agree on it. Here we go. Yeah. And that's what leadership is all about.
I serve on the Redmond Tourism Committee, and we did there was a process whereby everybody on the committee, with a ad agency guidance, had to come up with these words to describe Redmond, you know, and they wanted to get this sense of like, well, what is Redmond? Who is Redmond? And the word bold came up in the in the conversation, and I remember the guy turning to me and going, "Well, is Redmond bold?" Mm-hmm. And you know, typically, you know, I had to think for a second, because you know, you think of Redmond as being very conservative, you know, and they hold on to, you know, a large portion of it is holding on to traditional values, and there is that culture class. But to be honest, I had to say, yeah, pretty bold, because over the last 4 years, it's been pretty dynamic. And, kudos to Keith as well at the city.
Definitely.
They do not shy away from the difficult decision.
Right.
You guys haven't. And I think that's what's bold about it is, let's have a conversation, but we're doing this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, and the thing about it, we're doing what the people want.
Right.
See, those aren't our decisions. We just take the people's decisions, discuss it, strategize it, and then say, okay, let's go. And that's what people like because they never had a voice before. They just sat there and whatever came across the table, and they just became part of it. But one of the things I think I've instilled in people is the fact that I said, so do you want this city as it's growing to be shaped by a person my age, or do you want to shape by a person, a younger person?
Yeah.
And they think about that. And I said, well, there you go, because, you could be having antique stores on every corner again if that's what you want, which I never understand that, And I'm not knocking it, but I am knocking it because I don't know. I'm not putting a rusty wagon wheel on my grass. I'm just not doing that, so.
There's a lot of those.
You got that right. Yeah. And there's no wagons around. That's the thing about it,
There used to be, Clifford. We're remembering the wagon times.
Yeah, and so they're living in the past.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the key phrase there. We don't live in the past anymore. We're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apart from homelessness, what's another key thing that you feel was important during the last 4 years that the city moved forward?
Well, I named all the ones that are in progress right now. If you want to hear the future ones, I can tell you that because we really need to focus on water and we need to focus on wildfires.
You got a pretty hard hand slap from the state regarding your water usage.
Yeah. We got compliments, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to hold it, but the specter is.
Oh yeah.
You might not have enough water to develop.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And see, that's the issue. And see, this is why you have to be forward thinking. People don't look ahead. They do things for the day. And you don't do it like that. You have to see. And it's interesting because I was going through some paperwork last night up in my office, right? Because I was just thinking about water, right? So I'm talking about water. Anyway, so I'm looking at it. And what it said was, this was in 2020 when I first got on, right? And it said there was a conversation about us running out of water, running low on water, and it's really noticeable in 2012 or something like that, okay? So I'm thinking, okay, that was a while ago, right? So they knew this was on the horizon,
right? But
no one addressed it,
right?
And see, and so here we are now, like trying to do stuff, and Ed's doing an absolute great job. Actually, we had a 30% drop in the water usage. Huh. So people, we sent a message out to the citizens, say we got to conserve water. I know we have water hours, but if you don't have to water your grass, don't water it, Yeah. And they're taking heed. Yeah. And so it's working
amazing.
out. So, and people are listening. And see, that's the good part is that people are now listening to us because they respect our decision-making processes.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked about this on the first podcast, but Redmond is still an outlier when it comes to marijuana use. Yes. Or not use. Yeah. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
In selling it.
And, And, it's really interesting because...
Which I have found to always to be just a hilarious position.
Well, it is. I mean,
in case people haven't been following my sentiments on this.
Yeah, exactly. You think it's because they say, well, people who smoke weed, or use weed and, and they're getting in car accidents and things like that. But that's happening now with alcohol. But no one seems to have a problem with alcohol. Yeah. Okay. And then I say, okay, so you're concerned about people using marijuana and driving and getting into accidents. Am I correct? And they say, yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's one of the things, right? I said, so then why are we allowing or letting, or they got to go to Madras or they got to go to Bend to go get it, and then they got to drive back. So you think they wait till they get home to use it, or what do you think, And then they look with that dumb look on their face. Right. Because they don't even make any sense. And the fact of the matter is that some medical things like, they talk about a lot of doctors prescribe marijuana for certain various things. And here go a couple of them. Like it says like chemotherapy treatment, because nausea, what else? Migraines. I mean,
stress and anxiety is a big one.
It has a medicinal purpose. Right. Alcohol doesn't. And alcohol has these same problems, the things, so many people, and I've talked to some doctors of St. Charles, and they said the same thing. They said, alcohol is killing people. It's just tearing them apart. Yeah. But no one has a problem with that. No. And yet, they still want to argue with me. And I said, well, you're getting Rite Aid's store line every day in the pharmacy section and you're getting pills, you know what's in it? Well, of course not. Then why are you taking them? Because the doctor said I need to take them. But you don't even know what's in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the mask situation. You want to put a mask on, but you'll go take a pill not even knowing what's in
Well,
it.
I love the idea that somehow if you don't allow someone to sell it in Redmond, that somehow you can convince yourself that people in Redmond don't use marijuana.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to, if the real goal is, hey, you don't want people to smoke marijuana, then that's a different path. You've got to go do that campaign, and the state's already said it's legal, but they're using it. They're using
course they're
marijuana
using
there, and you're just not getting any of the revenue.
And that's another problem, And it's kind of interesting because I grew up, well, the real case is if they start using marijuana, they'll use stronger drugs. Okay, I'm 73 years old. I've been in New York. I have friends that smoke weed all the time. They're like attorneys and well, the ones that are still alive. They were like attorneys and worked at John Jay University, scholars and stuff like that. I'm thinking, okay, well, that's not true. That's just not true.
Right.
If a person wants to go to something stronger, they just want to go to something stronger. It's not because of the marijuana.
Right.
So
No.
yeah. But so we're going to put it on the ballot, and we'll let the people speak
right.
about it.
I mean, I thought that was a pretty bold move, considering you did have the legal authority as a council to just make the decision outright.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys as a group elected not to do that.
That's right.
To put it out and see what the voters thought, which is commendable.
Right. Yeah. And we also put out the term limits and the nepotism, which was things I was pushing for because the ex-mayor has his wife on the council, and I'm 2 votes down immediately before we even vote. I mean, okay, that wasn't going to happen, And because I know how nepotism works, and a lot of people don't even know the definition of it.
Yeah.
But because I know how nepotism works, what you'll find in nepotism is underlying scandalous behavior, corruption, and all kinds of things. But it's very subtle. It's kind of like, I hate to use the expression, it's like white collar crime. It's like crime, but you really can't put your finger on it, but it's there. So I wanted to push for that, and the mayor and the rest of the council agreed, and so we went with that.
Yeah.
And it won by 85%.
Yeah.
85%. That means there were so many people in Redmond not wanting to have nepotism, like family members on this council.
Yeah.
But they never said it out loud. But now that we gave them a voice to say it, they said it in the vote.
Well, you had to teach them the word.
Oh, yeah.
Nepotism.
Yeah.
And now 85% of the people know the words.
They probably thought of some kind of fruit or something like that, But I don't know, But things are doing really well. Like I said, there's a lot of new restaurants in Redmond now, and the one thing, I mean, you guys still dominate, Ben still dominates us as far as entertainment, I would love to see more happen at the fairgrounds,
Yeah.
I'd love to see a big Saturday market out there.
How much more can you do at the fairgrounds? You've got these massive concerts now out there. Farewell.
But not
and
enough.
Equinox.
Yeah, but I mean, I just
You want
think
more.
I want more. It'd be nice to have a covering out there so we could be indoors like in a big concert.
Yeah,
I mean, it's big enough to do that.
No,
But this
it's
is
a big space.
forward thinking.
Right.
Because in a couple more, they said by the year 2040, we'll be at something like, what did they say, 69,000 people in
Maybe like
Redmond.
band.
Yeah, where they going to be? Where they going to go?
Close.
Because it's
Where are they going? They're going to be in Prineville. They're going to be commuting to Redmond.
Well, they are dispersing out to these areas, and Prineville's for a shock.
Madras.
They're growing fast too.
Oh, they about to get paid.
Yeah, I know. They are getting paid. So we need some of that money, But
If people don't know, the Facebook monies are gonna hit. They've had a 10-year tax.
That's right.
Tax waiver, but in 2025 they're gonna start paying their dues.
They're gonna start paying their dues. They ain't gonna like that. Then they'll probably move in our town. But the housing problem is still an issue. We really got to figure that one out because we've got a lot of housing going up. I had a list here about how many that we have. But anyway, we have a lot of affordable housing going up. But the problem is this now. So now we got a lot of affordable housing. People are moving into them.
Right.
Okay. Now we have to have jobs that pay enough for them to keep paying the rent. Because affordable housing is not affordable no more. Because the what's the word I want to say? When you figure out affordable housing, it used to be 30% of a person's gross pay. Now it's 30% of the median cost of the housing. But that always goes up.
Right.
So that means the cost of living is going to go up, of the rent.
Absolutely.
And that's where the problem's at. So we got to figure that one out as well.
Is Redmond still affordable?
Is that your question?
Well, I mean, it's changing so much. I mean, for Bend people, they think, and we have employees who live in Redmond now because of the cost of housing in Bend.
Right.
But increasingly, it looks like Redmond prices are climbing. It's getting harder and harder.
And it is getting difficult. And, one of the things I try to talk to people about is the fact that, you've lived here all your life, you raised your kids here, but now your kids can't afford a home
Right.
in the town they grew up in. Unless you're going to give them your house. You understand what I'm talking about?
Right.
And so, no, it's not affordable. I mean, we've had nurses turn down jobs at St. Charles because they came here to work for St. Charles, but they can't afford to pay the rents in Bend. They can't afford to pay the rents in Redmond. So they said later, but I'm going back where I was from.
Right.
From. And that's sad.
But you have one thing about Redmond in terms of staying up is you have a good commercial district. I mean, your area around I just was driving in the commercial district by the airport and looked like it was booming.
Yeah, it is
Tons
booming.
of new businesses,
people
putting up and looked very modern, very cool.
Yeah. Oh, by the airport, you're right. And
because it used to be scary back there.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be scary no more.
Just concrete products.
So we're gonna do a bypass back there. We're using
Right.
that for a bypass also
okay.
to split, like kind of like what Ben did. The 97 when you come in, you'll be able to split and come through downtown if you want to go shopping or just stay in the town.
Yeah.
Or you could divert and go on the east side and go down to you and come back on up there and then proceed on to Bend.
Great. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Redmond fought tooth and nail not to have the highway go around it and destroy their downtown. And that downtown is so livable now. It's crazy to even think we used to do that.
You should see how packed it was during the national night out with the police department.
Yeah.
It was packed. Yeah. And all them people wasn't from Redmond. They're from all over. I mean, I've never seen so many people. I was like, New York, I was so happy.
National Night Out for the police department?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, what they do is they come out to meet the community.
Yeah.
And all the food is free. They got hot dogs and
wow.
fruit and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody interacts. And there's a couple of kiosks out there, And people get to know each other. And they loved it. And this was the biggest one we had. It was really, really great,
That feels old-fashioned, Cliff. That feels old-fashioned.
It is. And that's how you bring the community together.
Right.
See, and that's what I want to do. So we're going to try and do some more things where we have different cultures bring their foods out or combine them all together and invite people and do the same thing.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait until National Night Out just to do stuff like that. So we're trying to get on top of stuff, but we're doing really good. We're spending a lot of money, but we're doing good. The airport, what's the airport costing? Let me show you. We're in phase 1. It's going to cost $145 million just for phase 1. But it's going to turn into an international airport eventually. It will.
Well, those planes are so big. You're coming down a walkway now because you can't pull up to the,
Well, I never
feels big time.
I never took a plane out of Redmond yet. I haven't.
You haven't?
So I took my wife to the airport, right? And I go in there. I'm thinking it's going to be like a terminal and, like you go get something to eat while we sitting there talking to the plane come and stuff like that. People just walk in there and they walk on a tarmac out to the plane.
Right.
I felt like I was in Trinidad. I went to Trinidad with my parents, right, when I was a kid, because that's where my dad's from. And I said, Dad, how come we walking outside? It was like, but that's how it still is. And we're in 2024.
Oh, and you're going up bigger and bigger stairs because the planes are getting bigger. I didn't think some of those planes could land at the Redmond airport. But let me cut in because we're talking about the airport. Here's my Redmond beef. Okay. Why is the security at Redmond? Why are they so pumped up? They are pumped out in front of that airport. They are just in your business.
You mean we just took it back. We hired an outside group.
Yeah.
Now the police department is overseeing it
because they were pumped up. Yeah, because
you couldn't park in the front.
Oh, they love you pull up, you slow down a little bit, man. Other people are running out to your car.
I know
they're disrupting like goodbye kisses and hugs, and I was like, who are they?
I know who are.
Where am I? I'm in Redmond. This is the nicest airport in the world. You know, like
I pulled up and the guy said, "You can't park there." I said, "I know that." He says, "Well, you got to keep moving." I said, "So is the person supposed to run out and jump in my car after I go around one more time? How does that work?" And he says, "No, but they told us we got to keep you guys moving." I said, "Well, they got to stop to get in the car."
Right. I gotta open the trunk. I gotta get the back out. You could see it. I'd stop the car. I'd get out, and the guy's locking eyes with me. He's coming, and he's like, "You got 30 seconds before I arrive, so you better pull fast."
And then by the time you get home, it looked like rush hour 1 or 2, where the little guy jumped out the back of the trunk, Like, what the heck happened here, you know?
Well, I'm glad you took it back. I haven't flown out in a couple months, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to new experience.
Yeah, so it's, you know, I'm telling you, and y'all need to bring your wives and your husbands and your significant others to Redmond and come to our restaurants. We got some very nice restaurants up there.
It has changed. We got some.
And after taking my grandson to McDonald's a couple times last week, cost me $60 in 3 days. I'm thinking, okay, that's not happening. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm not joking. I took him to McDonald's. I think he got some chicken strips, ice cream, and a soda. And it came to like $17 or something like that.
Really?
I'm thinking, I said, lady, you sure? $17, where am I at? And it's not, and the food wasn't fast. That's the thing about it. But anyway.
Yeah. Clifford, we are close to the end of our time.
Not yet.
It's happening. What anything that you want listeners to know that we didn't touch on?
Well, the only thing I want to touch on is the water and the like I said, the wildfires. That's very important. You know, so we're really working diligently on that. The mayor has.
Does the city have a lot to do with that?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
We do. You know, but we know we got to work in unison with the county and all that kind of stuff too.
Right.
You know, but the water what the problem is, they're going off an old law or policy.
Okay.
And this is what I'm talking about. As times change, those things could be amended.
Yeah.
They're just written. You could amend things, you know, and then you look at how the water's being used, who's using it, you know, and because there's water rights, like people, if I buy a house and the person have water rights there, and I get those rights, even if I don't have a cow. You know what I'm talking about? That don't make no sense, you know. So,
yeah. Those are some old water rights that you got.
But one thing I want to give a shout out to a couple people though. Like Keith Wachowski is doing a great job. Yeah. The mayor is doing an excellent job. Okay. All the city workers are doing a great job. I love all those guys. You know. Yeah. I mean, they get down. They're sharp. You know, I just like the way we function together.
Special shout out for Chuck Arnold.
Yeah, Chuck Arnold. Yeah, Chuck's. Yeah, you know. Well, you know, he the man. He's the architect. You know. And then we got Devin at the police station. You know, the police station look good. Did you see our new library?
I did. It's amazing. We editorialized hard that bond needed to get passed, and it looks gorgeous.
So I just want to make one more comment real quick. You know, now that we got this fancy library, we can't be banning books, just for the record. So if that's political, there you go. You know.
We support you in that, and I hope our readers do too, or listeners. Good. Well, Clifford, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming in again. I won't wait another 4 years before I bring you back.
It won't take 4 years. I'm here in 4 years, but thank you so much. I really had a lot of fun with you guys. I like kicking it with you.
I always like sitting with you. All right.
Right.
This has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. And before I let you go, please be aware that support our free independent journalism by becoming a Source Weekly member. Your contribution directly funds our mission to provide Central Oregon with essential news, culture, and opinion and coverage. The member program has done so well, we were able to hire a reporter position, and that's all thanks to you, and we'd love to do more. So thank you very much. You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast, powered by the Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bensource.com.